I played Ark Survival Evolved for 50 hours on a Nintendo Switch, and it was quite the journey. If you don't know, there are currently two different versions of Ark out overall. There's Survival Evolved, which is the old version, and then there's Ascended. If you put two side by side, that being the Switch version and the PS5 version of Ascended, there's a completely big difference, which obviously there is, because one of them is a completely revamped version of it. But what if I told you that the Switch version is also a revamped version of it? You see, the first time that I went into this video expecting to make it a whole year ago, that's how old this video idea is, I thought that the Switch version that I played was the one that released all the way back in 2018. Well, turns out that they released a completely new version of the game back in 2022, where Wildcard, the developers overall of Ark, teamed up with another studio to just remake it all for free as an upgrade for people, with updates to just quality, of course, but also content. So there's DLCs all the way from Scorched Earth to Genesis Part 1 and Part 2, which is really cool. So in today's video, I hopped in for 50 hours, which if you don't know, one day is 1 hour inside of Ark. So basically, I just went on for 50 hours just to see if I can do good. And I have an overall kind of goal, and that is to try to fight one of the bosses, which I do learn the hard way that might be more difficult said or more easier said than done. So hopefully you guys enjoy. If you do, be sure to subscribe, drop a like at the video, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the video. The beauty of Ark on the Nintendo Switch looks just as ugly as the game does normally, but you know, just a bit uglier. And yes, it mightn't be as disastrous as it used to be at the launch of the game, but this is going to be a long 50 hours of playing this peak survival game. Well, to start things off, I'm gonna have to create my character, and of course I tried to make him look relatively okay, and the name is Jonathan. Welcome back, my boy. You're reincarnated for the god knows what amount of times I brought you back into every single game I've ever played. Hopping in, I realized that I have a lot of DLC items, and this is one of the most frustrating things that happens inside of Ark from my knowledge in the past. Basically, each time that you die or I guess spawn in for the first time, you have all of this junk in your inventory. Some of it is skins. No wait, most of it is skins, apart from this little guy who I called Bob. He's just a little guy, and he's just gonna be sticking around with us. He does nothing apart from just be there, but you know what, I like it, and we're gonna keep it. Apart from the other stuff, I'm always gonna just be dumping it out, because spoiler alert, I will be dying a lot throughout this playthrough. Ark is no easy survival game, and I am no good at it, so this is going to be very interesting. But to get started, of course, I had to learn some items and make some tools like pickaxes, axes, and even just some clothes to keep myself warm. I did actually end up dying pretty fast, unfortunately. The first death of many. I would have a death counter, but I feel like there's some ones throughout the days that I just never took down because it happens so often. But because I want to get down to the roll as fast as I can, I decided to look for a comfortable location where I could basically base it up, and I decided I wanted to go on a slightly higher elevation, which is very different from my normal playstyle in Ark, at least from the way that I used to play it. And I decided to treat this area, which is like the normal vicinity that you spawn in the first time around that you come into Ark. So I started climbing up. Along the way, I saw some things like a Christmas dinosaur, which is actually because I am playing this as of right now inside of this video during the Christmas season. And these dudes have Christmas hats, which actually did stick around until like the very end. Also, I saw a supply drop, which I cannot open until I'm level 15, so that's a bit of a shame. And I died again to a raptor. Yep, death number 2. I would normally leave my loot, but you know what? I'm gonna actually go back and try to dedicate my time to look for this spot up here, and also because Bob is not on me anymore, and I don't want to lose Bob this fast into the playthrough. So off I went, and surprisingly was able to get my loot without getting attacked by the raptor again. Since I was already up here, I found a nice spot that I was kind of happy with, so I decided to, you know, start making some stuff, which required me to collect some wood, which honestly there isn't a lot of, but yeah, I'll make it work. And while I did that, the raptor actually ended up coming back, but I was able to stab it, and I won that battle. From there, I noticed that there is a big dude here, like he's just giant, so I guess I can't do anything about it. I don't want to mess with him because I feel like he'll step on me and I die straight away, so I'm gonna call him Fibblepot. He looks like a Fibblepot. Yeah, and there there we go. That's my little hut. It's nothing special. It's nothing amazing, but it'll do, honestly. And speaking of Fibblepot, he did not know where his limits were. He started kind of like bugging into the hut itself and trying to get in. And turns out the reason he was doing that was because he was going to try to attack me. And the attack doesn't do much apart from like pushing me away at times, but still very rude, Mr. Fibblepot. I would like to come back into my house if that's okay, or at least my hut, whatever this weird thing that I made is. To make him basically go away from me and stop bugging me, I did put a roof on, and I guess that should... Nope, there he is. There's his foot. He's glitching through the damn wall. Okay, well, I guess I do need to go get some water, which is one of the big issues that I found with building a hut all the way up here. On one side, I have a huge cliff that drops down, and then there's a swamp really close by, which I do not want to mess with. And then on the other side, the beach is relatively far away, so maybe building my base up here as of right now mightn't have been the best idea, but for now we're just gonna stick here and see what happens later on. And of course, on my way to get some water, I got ambushed by more raptors and I ended up dying. So you know what? Because it's nighttime and surprisingly extremely dark on this version of Ark, I'm just gonna stay there, not touch my controller, and hope nothing bad happens, because I don't really want to die and then completely lose all of my stuff tonight. At least the sky looks pretty cool. And there we go, being blinded by blue extreme light. I don't even know what you'd call this. It's part of the things that just comes with this version of the game. But it is officially day 2 or hour 2, whatever you want to call it, and I decided I wanted to go exploring a bit because I just want to go see if I can gather some maybe useful resources. Even though I have basically played on this map a lot, I still wanted to go and check out the places and get my memory essentially refreshed. So I decided to head towards the beach area, where I actually found some dodos, and I decided to punch one, which allowed me to start the taming process because it was knocked out. Once I tamed it, I decided to call him Steve, and since one of my favorite things to do inside of the game is taming dodos, you are the beginning of something incredible in the future. From there, we did kind of get a bit off track and ended up going a bit too high, which wasn't the best idea, because when we were up here, I ended up falling down and Steve followed me, and on my way down, because I had to go drink some water, Steve was unfortunately robbed by a bird and killed in the sky. Well, that didn't last long. See ya, buddy. Oh well, there's another dodo that I'm gonna punch to death and call him Steve. Even though you're Steve too, you're still Steve, I guess. Anyway, me and Steve 2, or whatever you want to call him, continued our exploring and actually found another Steve, which it didn't last long with him. And then we found 2 more female dodos, which I didn't call Steve. I called them Stevetta and Stevetta 2. I know I could have been more creative, but the Steve army must grow, or the dodo army, whatever you want to call it. And it took me forever to get back to the base because they are really slow and I can only carry one of the dodos at a time. But we finally got back to the base, where I ended up telling them to roam freely, which mightn't have been the best idea because I kind of lost Steve. Like, I had no idea where he was. Thankfully, he wasn't too far away from the base, and I decided to go a different direction this time. Since I brought them back, I kind of don't want to go exploring with really slow dodos, or you know, losing more dodos than I already have. I decided to go towards the swamp location, which ended up going awful because I died almost instantly. Well, that's just great, isn't it? The beautiful graphics of Ark Survival Evolved on the Nintendo Switch made this search extremely difficult, mainly because of that blue blinding light, which I did learn later on in this video that you can turn off, but for now I decided to struggle through with it, and it made life super difficult because I couldn't find the green beam for my loot. So it did take me a while to find it, but there we go, finally got it, and now I'm able to go back because screw exploring right now, especially since there are so many freaking raptors around the area. I did end up unfortunately dying pretty late in the day, so it took me a while to find my way back to the base because it was pitch black. But there we go, because of my beautiful dodos and their weird green triangle above their head, I was able to find my way back, and I made myself a sleeping bag, which the only use that it has inside of this game is being used as a respawn point, so I can't even go to sleep. But oh well, I'll just wait it out. Now, while I waited, a Santa Raptor arrived, which was very interesting. So some very loud Christmas music started playing, or at least a remix of like the Ark theme with Christmas songs, and I had no idea what was happening. I was extremely confused, and I was just kind of willing to give up on the idea of finding anything because, you know, they said Santa Raptors around, until this thing showed up, which was huge, and it's like a normal supply drop, but it's very Christmassy. I ended up going up to it, and inside I actually got some pretty interesting stuff. I got a coal, holly, a blue metal sickle, and even another chibi pet, or whatever you want to call them, like Bob, but I'm never getting rid of Bob, so this guy can screw off. And while I was doing that, I ended up getting knocked out because I guess I was so dehydrated that ended up happening. To make matters worse, when I got back up, my bones were broken, which makes no sense, but yeah, it's a rough night. To make even matters worse on top of that, I died because of that. So I was too dehydrated, then I broke my bones, and then I died from that. I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense in terms of real life. Anyway, day 3 or hour 3, I made my way back because I wasn't gonna risk, you know, walking in pitch black darkness, and finally found out what this pet thing was. I called it Roger, but yeah, again, I prefer Bob, so we're not gonna be using this little guy. From there, I decided I'm going to upgrade my base with wood, just because I feel like having it made out of this thatch material isn't going to be very good to stick around for a very long time. And while I was trying to collect all of the wood, I realized how annoying weight is inside of this game, and how nice it is to have a dino that can just carry all of it for you. Instead of, you know, building the wooden platforms, I decided to go and try to do a side objective before we got to that, and that was to get the parasaur. One thing I need to say is, if I butcher any of these dinosaur names or just don't say them correctly, it's because I just can't speak normally most of the time. So just in advance, I do apologize if I mispronounce stuff. I'm just stupid, okay? Now, I did remember that there was a robot parasaur back at spawn, at least the area that I decided to wake up in, which is the normal one that, you know, if you ever played Ark, you probably woke up for the first time in. I made myself a bola and caught it, and then punched it until it got knocked out. Taming was super easy, since this is a pretty early on dino to get, and I called it Fred, because why not? Now, Fred is pretty useful right now, but they do become even more useful, of course, when you put a saddle on it. But for that, I'm going to be needing quite a bit of hide, or at least quite a bit for now. And with that, that means that I have to start murdering things, which honestly, I wasn't really looking forward to, which is of course a lie. So I ended up taking out quite a few dinosaurs, and with that I got meat and also some hide, which allowed me to make the saddle, and there we go, he is finally rideable. The cool thing with that is that Bob is on the dino with me at the same time, you know, instead of the actual like chibi running around behind you, they just sit between you and the dino itself. It's super cute and super cool. Also, something I kind of completely forgot in Ark, at least most of the dinos have their own buffs and abilities. So for example, with the parasaur, the normal attack will allow you to hit stuff, but also gather resources, mainly berries from bushes. And also the second ability, which is I guess on controller on the Switch, I don't really know what the button is, but on a normal controller like a PlayStation one, it's L2, will allow you to find out the vicinity of the area if there's any enemies, which is actually really useful for the parasaur, and especially since I'm super weak as of right now inside of the game. With this, I was able to start gathering wood pretty easily, and it made me really realize how freakishly expensive these wooden foundations are, and kind of made me think twice if I really want to build a base here. While I was just collecting the resources, I found something that I wanted to try to attack to see if I could get some hide off of, which ended up going awful, and I got killed. So I should probably, you know, be a bit more cautious, and because of that I felt a bit uncomfortable to go out again. So I just stuck around the house, or at least whatever the hell is left of this house, until day 4 has started. I actually came to the conclusion that this in fact is not a good base location, just because water is such a big pain in the ass, and I really do need it, mainly because right now the tools that I have to carry water, like this just little sack thing, is just not doing it since it's dropping water. Now before I actually moved, I wanted to find a really nice spot, so I decided to take Fred with me, and we went exploring, but cautiously this time around. That is a bit of a lie, because we did run into a raptor and Fred almost died, but we got away thankfully. Along my exploration, I found my first node, which is like, I guess, the way that you find lore inside of this game. If you've ever played Ark, I feel like most of the people that are watching this video already know this information, but also on top of that you get some XP boosts, which is definitely nice because I'll be able to level up even more and unlock some more new blueprints. I did get really close to the swamp, swamp, which was a bit terrifying because I found this giant bug, and honestly I do not remember this thing from Ark. The most terrifying thing about it is that it's a giant bug, but it also shot like orange weird stuff. It was definitely the most uncomfortable thing that I've seen, and this just solidifies the swamp being as one of the worst locations on any level to go to. It's just creepy. Genuinely my least favorite area on the island overall. Now I decided I wanted to find a base location that had a bunch of metal, just so that I could have it at a really easy and good supply, because metal plays such a huge part inside of the game, and there are plenty of locations with a lot of it, and of course you can just get it from normal rocks that you hit, but the issue is they just won't be giving it to you as much as you need it later on. And there is one spot that I remember from the first time that I played the game, which is kind of to the east side of the map if you're looking at the normal way on your book or whatever, and I decided that tomorrow I will actually head out towards that direction and try to find it there. But for now we're still gonna be sticking here because that bug terrified the crap out of me and I do not want to die. I did really consider going today though, like to go explore that area of the map and try to find a base, but since nighttime just looks super dark, and even when I increase my gamma inside of the game, it just makes absolutely no difference, and I'm just hopelessly exploring the map because I don't really remember where the spot is, and my light with Fred won't do enough justice. So I guess I just have to wait till day 5 or hour 5, which I did, and off I went. And the way that I decided to go was by the beach area, which is considered, at least from my knowledge, the easier part of the map. The bottom area towards the east and the west should have easier dinos to take down, at least around the beach area, which it kinda doesn't, because I ended up walking casually past the Spino that I didn't even notice myself. Honestly, it was absolutely terrifying because those things are super fast and would have basically one-shot me, but thankfully I got past without getting a scratch. Along the way I found my second note, which was really nice. I found a cave which I vaguely remember that had like a bunch of spiders, so we're gonna come back to this cave at some point during this video, but right now I am not going in there. I'm too far away from my respawn point and I need to find this metal hill mountain thing. Something really sad did happen. Along the way to this mountain, which I was very close by, me and Fred got attacked by a gang of crudans. I hope that's what you call them or pronounce them, and they took out Fred. So that's my first dino down. Well, I guess if you count Steve. Steve was a nice guy, you know. That bird just took him and he never saw the light of day again. But Fred is unfortunately gone. Oh, and of course, because Fred is gone, I also went. I couldn't survive against a gang of them. I'm not as prepared as I should be. I don't have the right tools or armor. But let's just say when this happened, I was pretty annoyed, frustrated, and just really upset. Not only did I lose Fred, I was starting to connect to him. They're like one of my favorite dinos to get the first time around. But also, I was there. I could have put down a sleeping bag and at least had a spawn point or a teleportation point. But you know what? Whatever. We're going back, but this time around we're actually moving because I remember exactly where that little mountain hill is. Now the unfortunate thing is I'm going to have to leave the ladies and Steve behind just because I can't carry around all of them or patiently walk with them all the way there. So I'll come back for you at some point. I promise. I promise, you hear me? On my way to the mountain, I actually figured out how to turn into third person, which is actually super useful inside of this game. Just to have a better understanding of your surroundings, knowing how far to jump and how far to go, which was really nice and helped me out for the future of this playthrough. It's not as easy as, like, you know, just pressing a button on PC or at least on controller on a different console, figuring it out easier. The controls on a Nintendo Switch controller, which I did use the Pro, which I'm really happy I have. It's definitely one of my favorite controllers. It was just so complicated to jump from console to console because of course I'm not going to be playing on the Nintendo Switch all the time. It was still very complicated and still very confusing. Those damn things were camping my body. There's like way too many of them around it, but something that I've actually never done in the past was try this sneaking ability, or at least the crouching and trying to be quiet strategy inside of the game, which surprisingly actually ended up working. They didn't spot me or hear me or attack me, and it allowed me to take my stuff. And behold, here is all the metal, or at least metal and some crystals, and not a lot of metal, and a note. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Now, when I was up here, I already started kind of regretting the idea of living here. Not only is there not a lot of flat surface, but I'm really far away from any wood supply, normal rock supply, and of course, once again, water supply. But for now, again, I'll just stick around here. It's a cool view for the Nintendo Switch quality, and I'm gonna try to do some stuff while it's dark, just so I can maybe get a head start for day 6, which on this hour 6, day 6, I actually started getting to full-on work. I decided to build a base out of rock, which was one of the biggest mistakes I've made, because rock, oh my god, is that not an easy resource to gather. Not only does it require a lot of weight for your character, but I really do need another Fred. So I started looking for one, and along the way back towards, I guess, where I used to live, or at least the spawn point where I first spawned, I started getting attacked by a pegum stacks, whatever they're called, and somehow I ended up taming it. Like, I attacked it and it tamed it, which I assume is the way that you're supposed to, or are only able to tame one of these guys, and I didn't really think much of it. I was more surprised and confused as to why I got it, but I called it Hannah. I was gonna call it Harold, but it's a lady, so Hannah it is, I guess. The search for the parasaur continued for quite some time. Unfortunately, my luck was not on my side until I found one, but it was kind of low level. It was a level 5, but you know what, at this stage I'll take anything, so I beat it up, put some berries into its inventory, and ended up taming it and calling it Fred 2. So now off we go back home, or at least, well, the new home or the new base. That's not really anything because I haven't even fully started. While I was gathering resources along the way back, I actually realized that we completely lost Hannah. Like, she's not following us anymore, and she's somewhere out there, I guess. And to make matters worse, I accidentally got into a fight with a triceratops, which ended up not only getting myself killed, but Fred too. So not only did I just go all that way back to the spawn and looked for countless, I guess, in-game hours to unfortunately getting one and then killing it. So that's my luck. It's going to be abysmal throughout this playthrough. Like, some of the stuff that happens feels almost as if I'm the most unluckiest player in Ark history. But you know what? We never give up. We never back down. Whatever the saying is, never back down. Never what? Never give up. We go back. Oh, I died to piranhas. Well, that's unfortunate. I don't really exactly remember, but I wrote down in my notes that I was so sad and that I was in mental pain. So I guess I was very upset that I spent so much time looking for Fred 2 and then he died. And also I just completely lost Hannah, and I think she might be dead. I don't really know. I decided to wait on a rock until it was daytime, just cause, again, pitch black, darkness, can't see anything, and I don't want to walk into like a Spino and then end up dying and being all the way back in that freaking spawn and dying to piranhas again. It's the most painful, endless cycle of beginning an Ark world that I am not in the mood for right now. Ark Survival Evolved and Dinosaurs Fun Facts! Our first fun fact is actually kind of, I guess, in relation to Ark Survival Evolved or just Ark overall, but more into dinosaurs. Personally, I have a huge interest in two things: space and dinosaurs, which Ark kind of combines the both of them. But the reason I want to talk about dinos is because, did you know that they were alive for 165 million years? Now, obviously, they went through the different phases. It wasn't just one, like, big dinosaur dude like here. Throughout 165 million years, it obviously went through phases of evolution, but that's crazy to think about. Homo sapiens, you and I hope you're Homo, that would be really weird if not a human is watching this video, have been alive for 300,000 years, or at least on this planet for 300,000 years the way we are. And dinosaurs were around for 165 million years. Now, obviously, we can't really fully know how they were all those years back then, but Ark kind of gives you that opportunity. At least you can play as them in their, or well, with them, with the way that we presume that they looked like. Obviously, throughout the years, we've learned that this little guy right here, this Tyrannosaurus Rex, was actually covered in more feathers than just scaliness like this, which is kind of crazy to think about. And I think that it's just so fascinating that somehow one animal species thing was able to live for so long, and then a funny rock fell down and just wiped them all out. Is that how we're gonna end at one point? Kind of makes you think. Sorry for deep thoughts with Flexo. Yeah. In day 7, unfortunately, I did end up getting killed once again, which then got me actually really pissed off. But on the good side of stuff, I ended up taming a new Fred, but this time it's called Betsy because it's a girl. And you know what, Betsy? You might be the third one, but in a way, you're the first one. We don't talk about the past 2 Freds. And with her, I was able to make my way all the way back, and it was just so much pain. I do remember just being so beat up and so upset and very close to just giving giving up on this video, because not only has it just been a lot of me dying and not being able to do stuff, and also because it's already day 7, which is hour 7. I've been playing this game for 7 hours and I've basically almost done absolutely nothing, but I decided to push down and lock in and try my best, even with deaths, to keep going and get to those 50 hours. It might be the Switch version, or more than likely it is because I'm an awful player at Ark Survival Evolved, but we will get through this and we will get to that freaking day 50. And since I decided to lock in, it was time to just give up on the idea of living anywhere that isn't close to water. Hydration is way too important, resources are way too important, and as of right now, I can go up here, collect some metal, and go down lower to where the beach is, where I should definitely start building a base, because screw living on top of a mountain, at least right now. Betsy actually came in super handy, but that came at a cost. She was super weighed down because I loaded her up with a bunch of things, and then on the way down we got attacked by bugs and somehow she died, which, you know, that's a great feeling. I just lost another parasaur. I'm okay. It's fine, okay? I'm okay. It's fine. I kind of spent some time just looking into the Great Abyss, as I like to call it, or, well, whatever the game likes to call it, like a sunset, or just a weird part of the day, because the day was very much not done. The reason I was doing this was because I really needed a breather and trying to fully decide of what I'm supposed to do. What am I actually going to be able to do in this playthrough? Am I actually going to be able to defeat one of the bosses, or will this just be 50 hours of normal Ark stuff? We shall see. But with that, I decided to start building, and I abandoned the idea of building stuff out of rock, which was kind of my plan. I'm just gonna go for wood. It's the easiest resource to use, and as of right now, I don't have any other players inside of my game, so I don't really have to worry some other player coming up and destroying my stuff, or a huge dino coming up and destroying my building, because as of right now, I can only know that that freaking metal mountain hill is full of annoying things, and I'm kind of close by it, like really close by it. I'm just the beach, really close to it, and I can't really see anything super bad. Day 8 or hour 8, I ended up kind of AFKing during the night and going to do something, and when I came back to my game, just when it was in the morning, I realized that there were raptors trying to murder me from my behind, but thankfully I put up walls and somehow they were just stupid enough not to attack me. And it's kind of funny because I just said that I'm gonna build this base out of wood and not worry about any enemies being down here, and just like that, I started getting attacked by raptors. Now, because Ark overall is a super buggy game on its own, not just because it's a Switch version, I was able to take them out by just sitting here and poking them with my axe, and that ended up killing them, which was a really nice and helpful strategy. I didn't have to actually go out and fight them, because let's be honest, if I did, I would have absolutely gotten destroyed. From there, I did my favorite thing in survival games, and that is become, you know, a normal human and deforest the entire map, because that's what we like to do as humans whenever we show up anywhere. And then I finally had a base, or at least something that I can call a base. It's nothing perfect, it's just like a big cube, rectangle, whatever you want to call this shape, and it just allows me somewhere to have as a place of going to escape from an area, or go to if need be, to be maybe like, you know, AFK during the night, or a safe space. That's actually the most important thing, something safe. Here I upgraded my armor finally, like I went finally into something that isn't just rags, which will allow me to have some protection from enemies. Also realized that the lighting inside of here is awful, so I tried to work on that. And of course, while I was working on the base, this big dude called the relocation, basically it's a Rizzler. It's a freaking dino that has the name Riz in it, which I know didn't happen before the name Riz became like a popular thing. What was it, like 2 years ago? But it's a freaking Riz dinosaur, and it killed me. And it looks like a bird, but it isn't a bird, which is kind of cool because that's exactly what dinos should look like, because dinos were just big birds. But it freaking killed me. Thankfully, I was able to come back and take it out, which was really surprising because these are supposed to be really difficult to take down. But I took it out and was able to get some prime meat out of it, which was nice. Unfortunately, I tried to preserve the prime meat because I know it's super useful for taming, like, you know, T-Rexes, Spinosaurs, or anything that requires really good meat to tame faster. And I decided to make a preserving bin, you know, to preserve it. But turns out that a preserving bin is actually used to make jerky instead, and not actually keep meats from spoiling. So we gotta say goodbye to this prime meat. I'll probably end up getting like a bunch of it because this is Ark, and most of the stuff that you kill, at least the stuff that you think would not give you prime meat, gives you prime meat. Now in day 9, I ended up making a raft because I remember how useful they are in mainly exploring the beachside areas and actually most of the map. So I got that done and ended up up lagging my game like crazy because everything that was loading in was really struggling. On this exploration, I found some dodos, which I decided I'm actually gonna start recruiting. So I called them Stevetta, Steve, and overall just whatever names I could come up with, just so that the army can grow more and more in honor of my boy Steve. Also, some interesting stuff that I found, which I don't know if it's just normal Ark bugs or if it's because it's the Nintendo Switch, but I found these 3 Broncos just stuck together and were being ambushed by like these weird T-Rex looking dudes, which was very interesting to watch. I found a T-Rex, which was terrifying, so I said screw that. Admired my growing and growing dodo army, and somehow found out that my 2 recruits that I got earlier just died. So okay, let's just head back home just so nothing else bad happens. And in all honesty, day 9 was really just a waste of a day. The only thing that I did kind of decide was that I want to start looking for a flying dino, just so I don't, you know, look for a parasaur, end up getting it killed, or take a raft out. That wastes an entire day. I need something that will allow me to get from point A to point B faster, and of course flying mounts are like the way to go inside of Ark. So in day 10, it was a nice start to the day because I found a Betsy too. The only unfortunate thing is she's a really low level, but you know what, that's fine, at least it's a new parasaur. From there I wanted to make myself a metal pickaxe, which I needed a furnace for. Then I had to smelt the iron, and then I had to make a smithy, which is essentially a crafting table, which then allowed me to make a metal pickaxe. With this I was able to collect like a bunch of metal off of that rock, which made me realize why you want metal tools inside of this game. And with that I decided to go back to the base and start smelting some more so that I can actually get a bunch of resources way easier with the metal tools. Also on top of this, I looked up what are like the best dinosaurs to get early on apart from a flying mount, and that turns out to be a triceratops. So I had a new objective in place, which required me not to only make a saddle for it, but also figure out how the hell I'm actually going to take it down, which no longer will my fists work, so instead I wanted to make some crank arrows so I can shoot it with those. Another stupid thing that I didn't decide to look up if it works was if bolas will actually do the work of stopping one. Long story short, no they do not. And with that, this freaking triceratops got super angry at me and started chasing me down, which ended up with me going out. My new attempt at it was to take the raft and crank arrows from a distance, but the arrows just didn't work and I ended up dying again. I don't even know how many times I've died in this game, but again, it's just a freaking beginning. And because all of that took me quite some time in the day, I decided I'm just gonna wait for the morning and try to craft some more crank arrows so that I could maybe from a distance take it down. So on day 11 I had 22 made, which mightn't seem like the most insane amount, but for now that'll do. Then I found a triceratops that was on their own, no more ganging up on me. It was a pretty low level, but I decided to go with it, and thankfully I was able to take her out, and then I was able to feed her some berries and patiently wait until it was tamed. And with that, welcome Sue, our brand new triceratops added on to the family of dodos and Betsy too. Honestly, I kinda love riding on these, and the stamina might not be incredible, but oh boy are they amazing for gathering berries. Not only do they gather a bunch of them, but also they gather so many freaking narco berries. This will come in super handy later on in the game when you just need a whole bunch of narcotics to take out like most of the dinos inside of this game. It did take us some time to get back to the base, and when I did get back, I decided to put some time into gathering resources and also some food, just because that will become super useful. And then also I had enough chitin to make myself some chitin armor, which introduced me to one of the most ugliest armors in Ark, but also just on the Switch version, this looks absolutely terrifying and I was in disgust, but at least it's better than whatever I had before, which was like what, the leather armor, so I'll take it. And as for the rest of the night, I just spent some time looking at what crafting recipes I can get, or blueprints, whatever you want to call them, and I found out that there's a cryopod, which could actually be absolutely incredible for stuff to do inside of this game, which will allow you to just like carry your dino around like a Pokeball, like a pal sphere. I mean, wait, no, just like a place to carry your dinosaur. Yeah. Also, I looked into what flying mount I want to get, at least early on, and it's the pteranodon or pteranodon, whatever way you want to pronounce that. I thought they were called pterodactyls, but you know what? I'll take it. The sad thing is, it requires me to get chitin to make the saddle for it, and I just wasted all that chitin to make my armor. So I guess some turtles are gonna have to die. So on day 12, I started by looking around to collect the resources for the saddle, and of course when I need to find turtles or those weird bugs that come out of of the water that you can also kill for chitin, I can't fight them. And because I was looking for the resources for the saddle, I also decided to look for one of the pteranodons, which just like the saddle resources was going awful until I found one back in the spawn area, but it never wanted to land. Thankfully with these, you do just really need a bola and your fist to knock it out, and then just some meat to tame it. And just when I thought I had one in front of me, able to take it out, it ended up getting attacked just as I was about to try to catch it, which ended up scaring it off. But thankfully, after trial and error, I did actually end up spawning one, throwing a bola at it, knocked out, and putting meat into it. This started getting me a bit worried because the taming process was taking way longer than I thought it would, considering the other ones were pretty easy. I started panic collecting some narco berries around the place, but thankfully through some just waiting around, it was able to eat up the meat. And here we go, our first flying mount. Say hello to Oreo. And because my luck on the resource gathering side was kind of good, I was able to make that saddle, and off we were flying back home. Back at the base, I started messing around with the layout of it just because I was kind of getting bored with this just cube design, and since I wanted to have my dinos slightly protected, I wanted to try to build out onto the water, which unfortunately wasn't going to work. And then I decided to see if ladders work, which was very confusing because I have to kind of like hang off of a ledge itself, and it won't work on the outside, it only works on the inside, and I have to have like a hole in it. But whatever, I guess I can work with this, which I think I will be waiting around for till day 13. In day 13, it took a lot of trial and error, but I did get it. On the roof itself, instead of trying to build up higher and higher, making this thing look extremely ugly, I just started placing down 2 railings until I got bored and decided I want to explore. I'm really considering if I have ADHD in real life and inside of video games, because I start on a project and then give up on it almost instantaneously and get really sidelined very fast. Speaking of fast, Oreo absolutely zooms around the place, which is a crazy comparison to not only Sue and Betsy, but also the raft itself. So it's a super nice way to switch up the pace of the game and will allow me to get around the place. The only unfortunate thing is the weight on these flying birds. Not only does it require me to basically have nothing on myself, but also the flying mount itself. So I will have to upgrade to a better one at some point, but for now, Oreo will just do the job perfectly. Since I had this possibility of exploring, I decided to head towards the green tower, since this is where the like actual boss that I can fight is at, and I wanted to just see how it looks, since I don't think I even in my past playthroughs ever went to any of the towers apart from the red one, since the red one is so close by. Along the way, I saw some new dinosaurs and stuff like that, which was really cool. And then when I got there, I found out that I need like a whole bunch of stuff, and like just too much, which kind of got me a bit scared and a bit worried. But for now, we won't be worrying about that, because I really just need to get my step to the ground and figure out what the hell am I actually going to be doing right now. Because to get to the bosses, it's easier said than actually done, you know, like, oh, go fight the boss. Now, I will be completely honest, I was expecting this to be super easy to take down the bosses, or at least to set up to it, but it is way more complicated and way more difficult. So I was really setting myself up for like a lot of disappointment, but I guess you guys are just gonna have to wait around and see what the hell happens in this video. While I was exploring, I did find a green chest or a supply drop, whatever you want to call them, which had a ramshackle Pteranodon meat pack blueprint. Well, that was a mouthful. Also, I found a Greek note, which had a lot of stuff that made me think of God of War Kratos, or at least just Greek mythology, which was really cool. And I got attacked by some micro dino thing, which hypnotized me, but Oreo had my back and rescued me. Also, I realized I'm around the more difficult side of the map, which if you don't know, here is basically where you find most of the carnivores like T-Rexes, scorpions, saber-tooths, and also one of the best flying mounts, which I will be coming back for later. On top of all of that, a bunch of metal, obsidian, and other resources are here, but I don't want to stick around this place because I am not ready for this in any way. So me and Oreo decided to fly off into the redwoods, which is definitely one of the more cooler locations on the map, but similar as to those mountain areas that I was just at, it is a bit terrifying. And the reason it's terrifying is because I almost instantaneously got attacked by a big dinosaur, and unfortunately I wasn't able to protect Oreo in time and he died. So with that, it means that I am not only super far away from my base, in between the redwoods and the beachside where I live is a freaking ginormous swamp area which has giant snakes, flying bugs that shoot orange stuff at you, and also crocodiles. I was genuinely terrified. Not only is the redwood also filled with like a bunch of enemies to take out, thankfully they're not as difficult, and if you have a flying mount it's super easy, but Oreo had to freaking die. So I decided to start sneaking my way towards the direction where I know that at least the safe area is. Again, I have to cross the swamp, which is absolutely terrifying, and along the way an allosaur or whatever you call them ended up spotting me, which was like a horror movie. I was sweating, I was screaming, and then I died. So never getting my stuff back, which sucks because Bob is now basically gone. Like, I'll never be able to get Bob back. I'm never gonna go back there, or at least by the time that I'm able to go back there, not only do I not know where I exactly died, but also the loot will just not stay there as long as I will have. Not only did I lose my flying mount, but also I just lost all my stuff, like my actually useful stuff. So Bob 2 it is. Welcome back / welcome to the world, my boy. Day 14 or hour 14, I decided to, for some odd reason, fully look into how to fight bosses, you know, on my 14th hour, not before. And the green tower that I told you about is the way to go. But for that, I realized that I will not only need a bunch of artifacts, which was a completely new thing to me, but also a Rex army or a Spino army or Diodon and a Yeti. I don't even know what those stuff are. So there's a lot of work to do. Thankfully, as much as I am saying it is like day 14 and hour 14, it's still only day 14. Like, I still have a bunch of days. So with that, I decided I wanted to start making some bullets and some ammo and some gunpowder and some guns, because those are probably going to be the way to go. But for that, again, I will need a bunch of metal, a bunch of gunpowder, not only because I have to rebuild all of the stuff that I lost, but again, the ammo itself will be taking me way too much resources to make. And while I was doing stuff around the base, I got attacked by the Rizzler, which was very confusing because I'm pretty sure I killed the other one. So maybe a different one found its way somehow here, or because it's just, you know, Ark, the way the dinosaurs work is they just respawn around the area. This was a bit of an issue because Stevetta decided to go attack it. So okay, goodbye soldier. But thankfully it didn't come back. So let's hope it doesn't return to the base. While I was trying to check out my dinos just to see how many of them died or ran after it, I noticed that Betsy 2 gave birth to 2 eggs that aren't fertilized because there's no other dinosaur to fertilize them, but at least there's 2 eggs, so that was cool. And while I was trying to make upgrades to myself, like I made some metal armor because I had a frick load of metal left over, don't mind the pantlessness, I was looking into if I can actually hatch eggs that aren't fully fertilized, and that's when tragedy struck. A freaking Rizzler came back for revenge. Stevetta was not enough to scare it off, and it murdered everyone. All the Dodo, Sue, Betsy, me. It was devastating. Not only did I lose everything just a while ago with Oreo and all of my other loot, but I just lost like every single thing that I worked all of these countless hours for, which was really upsetting because, again, it was so much work and I thought I was in a safe space on the map, but I'm really not. And I was really stubborn as well because I kept on trying to come back and trying to kill it to get my stuff back. I just kept on dying and dying. I tried to shoot it. It was just going awful until I just decided to take the raft, go over to the other side of the river that I live beside, and just wait it out there through the night so that I can, you know, gather myself, which I ended up doing. Like, I ended up going AFK, trying to do other stuff to wait until it is daytime, and I kind of lost track because turns out when I came back, it was pretty late into day 15, which was cool because the Rizzler was gone. This allowed me to go back and check out the disastrous location. I saw all my fallen soldiers, Stevetta, Betsy 2. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't stay here. I feel like the Rizzler is always gonna come back no matter what I do. So I thought of maybe moving to a different location, but for now I think I'm just gonna make the raft that I have as like a temporary home, just so I can put my stuff onto it and move away with it somewhere safer, because unfortunately this is just not gonna be working. I decided that the place that I wanted to move was actually not too far away. It was just a few meters away from that base, but it's at least out into the ocean where I'm pretty sure none of those like really bad dinos should show up. And here I was able to kind of gather myself and actually stay for the rest of this playthrough because I found a nice comfortable spot. Would you look at that? Third time is the charm. Fourth time's the charm. Yeah. 4 times the charm. Now, stuff did actually start off pretty well because I was able to find myself a pteranodon straight away. It was a pretty low level, but you know what? I'll take it. Also, on top of that, I got Betsy 3, so, you know, we're on to like Parasaur 6 or 5 already, which is insane. And then during day 16, I decided that the new layout of the base that I want to have is just a giant foundation with just one wall around it with doors open just so I can get in and out, and big enough so that I can put dinosaurs in here if need be, just so we're protected. Because again, looking at the way it worked out with those raptors that attacked me a few days ago, this should do the job and shouldn't be too big of a problem. It's not going to be pretty, and it's going to be a lot of open space, which I don't mind, and it's definitely going to be really nice to have all of this to call for my own, because after having like a full base with a ceiling and stuff like that, or a roof, it didn't look that nice. So I kind of prefer this layout. All the daylight is going to be getting in and lighting up the place, so that's going to be nice. I did have to go back for my stuff because like I had a lot of it still in the chests and in the smithy and just overall in the furnace, but the freaking Rizzler was just constantly waiting around there. Also today I somehow made the game look uglier. I decided to go into my graphics just to mess around with them, since you know this is after all the Nintendo Switch version and we're trying to see how nasty or how buggy this version is. I turned off shadows, light shafts, light bloom, torpidity effect, and like it kind of did make it ugly, but also the ugliness made it look better. No longer do I have that annoying shine, but also I can kind of see stuff better, so I'm definitely gonna be using that for now. Ark Survival Evolved and Dinosaurs Fun Facts. Whoa, relax. All right. Our second fun fact is once again kind of in relation to dinosaurs, but also Ark in a way. Did you know that this guy right here, the T-Rex, wasn't alive during the time as most of the other dinosaurs that we learned were like kind of at least together during the Jurassic Park movie era or even in this game? So for example, the Bronto and this guy were actually not around at the exact same time and were separated by millions of years. It's kind of crazy to think about that some versions of dinosaurs that you know were actually not around together because one of them was just completely extinct, like their species kind was just no longer around. It is a short and sweet fun fact, I guess, but it's still so fascinating and cool to think about that these guys just 165 million years. Crazy. In day 17 or hour 17, I went back to see if the Rizzler was still there. Unfortunately, he was. So because of that, I decided I'm going to take the raft, go up to the back of the house, destroy a wall so I can jump in, and then clear out the chests while I'm slightly hidden, which actually worked out. And I was able to get some of the stuff, put it onto the boat or the raft, and then I was able to bring it back to the new base or the actual permanent base. The only sad thing is that I realized that I didn't have it all. So I had to basically redo that all and be terrified that I could basically lose absolutely everything. And as for the rest of the day, I just went out hunting for chitin or keratin so that I could make the pteranodon saddle so that I can fly around the place again and make my life a bit easier. Hour 18, I finally made my metal pants. I was basically pantsless this entire time throughout the Rizzler interactions, so that's a bit embarrassing. I ended up then finding a note which was very close to my base, so that was a bit of a surprise. Of course, I did some deforestation, gathering resources, and just continued building the base throughout the day. The sad thing is, I ended up getting attacked by a raptor, which broke all of my armor, but on the bright side, it didn't destroy my pants, so they are standing strong now. Also, I forgot to mention I made a gun, so this time around I started making some tranquilizer ammo so that I can take out stuff faster than with just tranquilizer arrows. And again, just base building and trying to get myself together after those entire losses. On day 19, I crafted a fabricator, which was pretty cool. It was a giant boy. The only way that I'm actually able to use one of these is with gasoline, so I had to actually look into how to make that, and turns out you need hide and oil, and by putting it into a furnace and activating it, somehow that just creates gasoline in, like, you know, one of those gasoline cans. So that's a bit ironic that you're able to do that inside of a furnace. And here is the point where I realized that the end of the game, or at least the end game stuff, you need a whole bunch of oil, obsidian, cementing paste, chitin, just a bunch and a bunch of stuff. So that's definitely going to be a bit of a pain later on, but for now I had other plans in place. You know that gun that I told you that I made and those tranquilizer ammo bullets that I made? Yeah, I had a stupid idea of going to hunt down the Rizzler. You know, the murderer, the guy who basically killed all of my goddamn family inside of this game. Well, I decided I'm gonna go try to hunt it down, which didn't go very well, but with enough shots into it, I took it out, and then I was able to feed it some narco berries to keep it knocked out. I realized how freaking ugly this little guy is, and it really got me angry because, like, I'm trying to tame it, which is kind of ironic because it killed everyone, but I feel like if it's on my team, it's like a nice little redemption arc for the character, you know? I was debating if I should call it the Rizzler or the Murderer. Both felt just as bad, and of course I went with the Rizzler because that's what I've been calling it this entire time. And with that, I have a really annoying dino, mainly because it killed everyone, but actually a super useful dino because it can gather your resources really well, and they're pretty strong inside of this game. So you know what, the Rizzler, Rizzler, I might hate your guts, but at least your dino type isn't the worst, and I do really appreciate having you this early on. On day 20, I went out to hunt some hide because I needed it for saddles, for the Rizzler, and just overall to have for like stuff like the gasoline. I ended up getting really close to my first base, so I decided I'm actually gonna pick up Steve while I'm here, just so he can come back, and you know, that's one of the 3 that were back at that old base. I told you I was gonna go back for these guys. And basically when we got back, I made the saddle for the Rizzler and found out that when you level it up, it does like jazz hands. The dinosaurs inside of this game, whenever you level them up, they do like a little boogie or like a little animation, and the Rizzler does jazz hands. You might not be as bad as I thought you were, I guess. Day 21 was where I kind of like fully started doing stuff the way that you're actually supposed to. No more, you know, just saddle collecting. And my first objective was try to get to the more difficult sides of the map, which included the snow biome. And for that, I needed to get myself some fur armor, which the way to get fur armor is you can have pelt, hair, or wool, which are all slightly difficult to get. I need scissors to cut off my hair to be able to get hair, but unfortunately to make scissors I need obsidian. And from researching, I can actually get obsidian from the snow biome, a volcano, some mountains in the more closer middle area of the map, or caves. I would really love to go to the volcano because I do know that spot you don't actually need any like protection, and the only thing you really need is protection away from the heat, which cloth armor should remove. The only issue is that my new flying mount, which I forgot to tell you is called Jammy, we're going along with the like cookie names because the first one was called Oreo, their weight, or the pteranodon weight, is absolutely awful, so I will not be able to take him all the way there and get back with enough obsidian. So from what I found out is that the caves themselves, and the cave that I live very close to that I told you we will be going back in this video, has obsidian in it. So I decided to head in, which was a bit of a terrifying experience because I knew the stuff that I should be expecting in here are spiders, and spiders are freaking terrifying. I don't know if it's with my age, but I'm slightly developing a slight arachnophobia, and it just creeps me out because they're like ginormous. But I still went in because, you know, why not? It's just a game and won't do anything really bad to me, maybe. Who knows, but it was super creepy. I decided to like creep around through most of it. I found some notes, which was really nice, gave me some levels, and then while I was trying to go deeper and deeper in, I found a scorpion, and since I had some trank arrows, I thought, why not knock it out? And well, now it's mine. Say hello to Plum the Scorpion. It was actually pretty useful. As terrifying like the spiders as it is, it's still really nice and cool to have something else inside of here because I was kind of scared to be alone in here by myself. At least I have some protection or something to take most of the hits. Also, something funny with Plum is he actually doesn't walk and just teleports around the place, so that was very interesting to see. But there we go. Obsidian has finally been achieved, and also this funky looking supply crate, which didn't give me the artifact, but I'll take whatever it gave me. And as of right now, this kind of looks like a dead end, so I have no idea what the hell I'm supposed to find in here. I know it's like one of the artifacts, but where the hell is it? I thought I was able to, you know, multitask, getting the obsidian and maybe getting the artifact early on in the game, but whatever, I'll take the obsidian for now. So let's go, Plum. Let's get back to the base, you teleporting scorpion looking dude. On my way back to the base, I somehow ended up taming a velociraptor, or just a raptor itself, which I called Ross. Definitely not because I was watching Friends while I was grinding through these 50 days. Somehow during this day, I ended up taming like the most brutal beasts inside of this game, a scorpion and a raptor. I haven't died to a scorpion yet, but I've definitely died enough to these raptors, and it's nice to have one finally on my team. And since I finally collected that obsidian, I was able to make the scissors and cut off my extremely long beard and my extremely long hair, which only gave me 30 hair. And it really made me realize that I am in no way going to be able to make the fur armor fast enough because I need over 300 of fur, pelt, or wool. So I need a new plan, and in day 22 I decided that I want to go into the redwood and look for animals, or at least dino creature, prehistoric animals that have pelt or wool on them. Honestly, going through that cave just a while ago gave me some extremely needed confidence, which allowed me to convince myself to go into the redwood fully, because of course the last time I went in there it didn't go very well. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go in solo, but because a flying mount will help me out way more, I decided to take Jammy with me, and we flew off towards the redwood. And of course the first thing that I spot is instantly something that I want to tame instead of kill. Look at him. He's just a dude. I vaguely remember that you can ride on top of these guys, and they're basically like a Bigfoot. Unfortunately, it was really close to the swamp, and when I shot it with enough tranks, the dino prehistoric creatures just start running away from you because of course their torpidity is super high and they're about to get knocked out, and he kind of ran way too close to the swamp area, so I completely gave up on potentially taking it out. Here I was able to find some things that gave me pelt, which was super nice, but unfortunately it didn't really last long because I was really unlucky. Of course, when I'm looking for stuff, I can't find stuff. Also, I got jumped by a saber tooth, but I was able to take it out, which was really nice. And then I ended up getting attacked by one of these guys, a Carnotaurus, whatever. They're the guys with these weird little horns on their head, funny looking mini T-Rex dudes, and actually somehow I was able to trank it enough to take it out, put some meat into it, and while I was trying to fight off some other stuff, I actually ended up taming it, so that was cool. I now have like a full-on meat eater, but how do I bring it back to the base? I guess that's something that I have to worry about in day 23 because it's way too dark for me to even attempt to bring it over, especially since the swamp has all those terrifying freaking things in it. So thankfully I actually did end up surviving till day 23 and I didn't die, which was cool. And then I had to decide how I'm gonna bring over this Carno all the way back to the base. It took us a really long process of slowly flying through the swamp and trying not to get myself and the Carno itself killed, but we made it all the way back through a really slow process. And also I was able to finally name the Carnosaurus, whatever it's called, to Carna. Say hello, the newest family edition. Now let's be honest, I did get sidetracked like I usually do. I was able to get some pelt, which allowed me to make some fur leggings, which was really nice. But for now, I want to take the first side slightly aside because I kind of want to make a saddle to see how fast Carna can be and how good at taking stuff out, because maybe instead of taking a flying mount, I'll be taking her with me. Also, I had the Rizzler look at me like this, which is absolutely terrifying, but he's kind of growing on me. Like, I don't know, he's just a goofy little guy. Look at him. And then I made a saddle, which turns out that, you know, she's not really the fastest or the greatest, but I'll take it. It's not the worst. In hour 24, officially a full day of real time playing this game, I decided it was time to go back and collect some more pelt because it is already day 24. We're almost halfway through these days and I've basically still done almost nothing. The beauty of Ark and its grind. Thankfully, this pelt run was actually pretty good. I ended up getting some of the pelt itself off of animals, but the only downside is that Jammy got killed. I don't know what the hell is happening, but my luck is not on my side with these flying mounts, but at least we have some fur, and somehow I ended up knocking out what at first I thought was a saber tooth, but it's actually a Thylacilio, whatever the exact name is. I don't know how this happened, but now it's knocked out, and I basically waited around forever to try to tame it. It's definitely one of the more annoying ones, but once it was tamed, I was able to call it Cleo, and then we explored a bit of the redwood because I need to figure out a best way to get back to our base without actually cutting through the worst parts of the swamp itself, which of course didn't go well at all because just as we were about to go through the swamp fully, we got attacked by two of those huge bugs, and I got taken out and Cleo got taken out. So not only did I waste basically most of the day trying to get pelt and then getting it and potentially going back to the base safely, but then I wasted a bunch of time trying to tame their saber tooth looking thing just for it to die and then for me to die. The beauty of this death is turns out I was super close to that first base that I built. Yeah, with Stevetta and Stevetta. So that meant that I was able to use the bed that was here so I could get back to my loot super easily, and thankfully those bugs weren't camping this location because if they attacked me, there was no way that I was ever able to get out of it. So I was able to retrieve not only my pelt, but also Bob 2. Bob 2, you're still with us, thank God. On my way back to the base, I actually found a level 33 pteranodon, and I was able to start taming it. But guess what? I realized that there is a Spino super close to this location now, which never had a Spino here. Is that the Spino that I surprisingly somehow managed to get away when I ran past it at the beach itself? Probably, which was really unfortunate because while I was here trying to tame it, the Spino started attacking all the other dinosaurs that somehow it didn't attack when I wasn't in here, because of course it only starts attacking them when I'm in the loading area or at least the render distance. And then it started taking out the big dude, and the big dude started running towards me and I was hiding, and my pteranodon was taking his damn sweet time to get tamed, and then it started chasing after it, and then it got closer to another big dude, and the big dude started getting attacked, and I was really terrified and I thought I could get away, but turns out that the big dude started running towards me as well, and then it killed him, and then I was hiding, and then it spotted the level 33 pteranodon that I was taming, and then it killed it, and then it went after me, and then I died. Yeah, so that was unfortunate. I need to go get Bob 2 again, I guess. So in day 25, I went back, and the Spino was unfortunately camping my loot, but through really careful maneuvering, I was able to get my loot and then escape. As you can see, Ark is just being brutal to me. Not only am I not able to keep my tames, but you know, I just keep dying as well. So at least I was able to get my pelt again and Bob 2 once again, which I am happy about, I guess. Some luck was thankfully on my side, because on my way back with my loot, I was able to find another pteranodon, which was level 20, and I caught it and called it Cookie, which brought it all the way up to level 29. Maybe stuff is starting to work out for me for once. Maybe. And finally, I was able to do one of the last things for the fur armor. I wasn't able to make the shoes, but I think I'll be fine without them, and it should keep me warm enough when I go over to the snow biome. I started preparing the raft because I was sick of it. It's already day 25. I've already had so many losses, and I just want to go over there and get that freaking oil and obsidian if possible. So I started to head out the same day and not waiting around, because screw that, I'll just wait out in the ocean throughout the days, which I actually did, because on day 26 I actually was really close by it. I got there towards the end of day 25, but I just waited around till day 26 so that I could get there and not have to be worried about, you know, not seeing the potential obsidian or oil around the place. I went over to the iceberg locations. I wasn't gonna risk it going on land just yet, and unfortunately I cannot get obsidian in this area, but in the good side of things, there is a frick load of oil here, more than I'll actually ever need, or at least the amount that I collected was more than I will need. Also, there are some penguin dudes here which are pretty cool, and I was considering taming them, but I decided against it. Basically, the entire use of this trip was to just gather obsidian and oil, and we unfortunately weren't able to get one of them, but I will take the oil itself, because that is a super useful resource to have back at the base, especially since the oil is all the way out here. Like, it took me basically a full day almost to get to this location itself. On my way back to the base, I realized that I really need to tame a better flying mount. I know I just got Cookie, my new pteranodon, but again, their weight is just really bad compared to what I need. So I decided that day 27 is the day that I need to get the argentavis. Big bird, essentially. On level 21, I was able to unlock the saddle, so I basically was able to make it. I made 21 trank bullets so that I could take it out, and I decided to take Cookie with me. Since it is a flying mount, it will get me to the redwood area where the birds themselves are. Super easy. While I was actually here, I found a complete mountain that is just metal, and it's not too far away from my base, so when I get this flying mount, I will be able to just fly over here, collect a lot of it, and head back, which is super convenient. And I think this is the mountain that I heard like most of the guide videos that I watched calling the metal mountain, because there is so much metal here. And thankfully, by the metal mountain itself, I actually ended up finding an argentavis, basically the flying bird, all by itself, just one of them, not in a gang, and I took it out and then I started taming it. Unfortunately, it is only going to be a level 2, but you know what, I'll take it. As long as I have something that has so much more weight than Cookie himself, I will take it. And there we go. Welcome my new favorite flying mount, or just my favorite freaking dino inside of the game, because they just get you everywhere. I called it Aggie because my freaking brain could not think of a name itself, and since they're called the argentavis whatever, I thought Aggie could fit, and you know what, it does. Since I had the saddle, I was able to start flying it, and oh my god, it already feels so much better. The speed on it isn't as insane as it is on the pteranodons, but I will take it. And with that, I was also able to collect some metals, since I also had Cookie, who could just follow us around the place, and we didn't have to worry about, you know, it going through the swamp on its own, since again, I could just tell it to follow us, and we were able to fly all the way back home safely without getting attacked. So that meant in day 28, I was able to make my way over to the volcano. But before I did that, I wanted to make myself the canteen, which would allow me to store a lot of water, because of course the volcano was going to be hot. Also, I had to bring over some cloth armor or cloth clothes. They will be able to protect me from the intense heat that the volcano itself has. Flying over there was super easy and super nice. The only bad thing with flying mounts, or just any mounts itself, is that they all have stamina itself, so that was a bit of a problem, but we finally made it, and I was able to collect a bunch of obsidian. Also, here I found out that there's a metal door, which at the time I had no idea what it was for, but as of right now, I do know that it's for the overseer boss fight, which is like the biggest boss fight that you can fight on the island. And as for the rest of the day, I just went back and just looked at crafting stuff, which I found out that the industrial grinder takes sticks, 2,000 crystals, 3,200 metal, and just a whole bunch of other stuff. And I looked up fully how to fight the brood mother, the actual boss fight that I'm trying to aim for. So for day 29, I decided I'm going to take Aggie and fly back to the green tower so that I actually can look at the actual artifacts that I need, because I do not want to fight the more difficult versions of the actual boss. I just want to fight the gamma version, which I do believe is the basic, normal, easy version. I am not set out to fight her on those difficulties. So for this, I need the artifact of the clever, artifact of the hunter, and artifact of the massive. These are some very interesting names. The first one that I'm going to go for is, I do believe, the hunter one, which is basically the one that is super close to me, the cave that I went for the obsidian. But before I go, I want to make as much weaponry as possible so that I can be basically as prepared as I can. I wanted to make a shotgun just because it seems like the way to go, since the guys that I looked up, people use shotguns, but I found out that I need a whole bunch of cementing paste and also polymer, so that's going to take me a bit of time to make. And also on top of that, shotgun shells need gunpowder, but also they need simple bullets, and to make simple bullets you need gunpowder as well. So because I was kind of stubborn, I decided to make the shotgun, which took me absolutely forever to do, and it took up a lot of the days to come while I was trying to explore to find myself an iguanodon, because that way I was going to be able to get a lot of resources. If it's just berries overall or maneuver around the map faster, it's definitely a dino that I should have gotten faster before. I found a monkey, which I ended up knocking out, and turns out that I can't tame it, or at least not this way, so I just knocked out a monkey by accident. And unfortunately I wasn't actually able to find an iguanodon, because turns out that there is alphas absolutely all around this mini mountain that's beside me, so I assumed that I probably took them out because I saw quite a lot of iguanodons in the past here. On day 30, I went around looking for chitin, which was just going awful. I couldn't find those things, and then remembered that the turtles actually do give you keratin, so I just decided to start murdering them instead of looking around for those weird water creature things for chitin itself. Day 31, I was still hunting for keratin and chitin. There was just a lot of getting keratin, making cementing paste, realizing I need more, and repeating the exact same process over and over. But finally today I was actually able to make the shotgun itself, and in all honesty it was enough to make a grown man cry, which it almost did. I'm not a grown man just fully yet, so I didn't cry. That's a lie. I almost cried. It was absolutely beautiful. It took me so long to freaking make this gun, but there it is. I have it. So on day 32, it was just me making shotgun shells. It was really nothing. Like, it's probably the shortest day with notes wise because it was just making shotgun shells. It was honestly just flint, stone, grind, gunpowder, simple bullets, shotgun ammo, repeat. It was an extremely fun day. Day 33, I decided I was potentially ready. I wasn't really sure, but you know, I'll take Plum with me. We'll be super cautious. We have some shotgun shells and we have a shotgun, so it should be fine, right? Along the way, I ended up getting attacked by one of those spitting dinos, which I didn't notice at the time, but somehow when I got attacked by it, it removed the shotgun out of my inventory. You can't make this up. I spent almost 3 days grinding it out to make a shotgun and a frickload of shotgun shells, and just like that, out of nowhere, a dino attacks me, like almost instantly after leaving my base, just on the other side of the water, ocean, river thing that just like starts, or at least the river meets the ocean here. I cross it and I get attacked and I get my freaking shotgun robbed off of me. Countless hours just gone. I couldn't get it back. I was so confused because I was about to be like, okay, let's go back after getting attacked. And I was like, wait a minute, where's my shotgun? I looked back at my footage and I was like, no way it took it from me. I even tried to close the game and hope that it saved like a really bad day or something. But no, it unfortunately saved right after I lost my shotgun. So now I'm countless hours into the game, prepared to go get my first artifact, and I just lost one of the most valuable things that I spent countless hours to make. You can't make this stuff up. Like, how unlucky is that? The fact that it didn't remove my meat, it didn't remove my spear, my pickaxe, my axe, it removed my shotgun of all the freaking things. Like, I'm annoyed right now. I'm so annoyed right now. Even though I'm recording this after, I'm so annoyed. But you know what? I was sick of it. I wasn't gonna wait around again to make it and make this video extremely boring. I just basically decided to head in with Plum and my spear, and you know what? We're gonna do it. So I headed on in. It was kind of spooky. It was terrifying. Fought off some spiders, but we got it, and I was able to get my first artifact. You know, maybe all that work trying to get the shotgun was kind of for nothing, because that was incredibly easy. This is definitely one of the easier caves inside the game, which makes sense because it's super close to basically like the easy part of the map. But still, with the help of Plum, I was able to get it and get out of there. And now we only need 2 more artifacts to just attempt the brute mother boss fight. On the way back to the base, I almost walked into an alpha raptor, which was a bit terrifying, but somehow didn't spot me because it was busy taking out a carcass. Also, I found a floating tree, you know. That was interesting. And then back at the base, I found out that now a fibopod spawned here, whatever they're called, the big dudes. And I don't know how I feel about that, because the last time I had one of these big dudes by my base, which was one of the first days, they were definitely one of the more annoying things about it. And I guess it only happened because the cave itself was super far away from its render distance, and that allowed for dinos to spawn here. Who knows? Day 34, I decided I'm gonna just start working on that shotgun again, because the next caves are probably gonna require me to have it. So once again, it was a chitin and keratin hunt. I found out that the Rizzler dinosaur actually drops quite a bit of keratin, so I decided to go hunt for it, which didn't go well because I ended up dying to one of them when I found one. I tried to knock it out, but it didn't go well. I also found an iguanodon this time around, which was really cool, so I got it. Then I made a saddle and found out that, you know, the iguanodon is actually incredible because whenever it's on all of its fours, it never loses its stamina. It's gonna make some of this keratin hunt hopefully easier if I bring it along, which I don't. I kind of never used the iguanodon again. Aggie is like the best addition to my family of dinosaurs because she's the only one that's really useful. And just when I was heading back with the iguanodon after just, you know, messing around with it, I witnessed this. The Bronto somehow pissed off one of the dinosaurs in my gang, and they all absolutely ganged up on him. He stood no chance. I've raised this family very well. Day 35, I finally made the shotgun, which was nice, and I decided I will try to go into cave 2, which is one that's like super east of the map, and it's like a volcano one, so it's probably gonna be very difficult, but you know what? I think I'm ready. So I got on Aggie and started flying towards it, which didn't last very long because I got distracted by these little huts and beavers! There's beavers! I looked at them for a while and then I interacted with its hut, which got it super pissed off, and then one thing led to another and I finally used my shotgun for the first time. We don't talk about the second guy. He was just there, you know, he started sprinting at me. I couldn't control myself. I was very disappointed in myself because I didn't really want to kill them. But on the good side of things, they had so much cementing paste. Like, this is huge. This is gonna last me for a very long time. And cementing paste is the most annoying thing to make because I need a lot of keratin and chitin. With that, I decided to take it all and head back to the base instead of going for the cave just yet. So now in day 36, I made a crossbow and a grappling hook, which was a pretty good decision because I'm actually gonna need it for the cave itself since it's supposed to have some big drops and stuff like that. And I decided to head back into the cave itself, which went bad again. I got kind of sidelined because I flew way too close to the water with Aggie, which ended up getting me stuck because the birds just kind of kick you off of themselves when you're too close to the water. And with that, it meant that I had to quickly find my way back to the surface because there's a bunch of freaking dinosaur dudes that want to kill me inside of the water as well. But what would you know? The terrifying thing with this is that I didn't tell Aggie to follow me, so now she's just stuck in the middle. What now? How do I go get you? How do I whistle to you so that you can hear me? I decided to walk around this weird looking bay and just go from the other side, which looked a bit closer, and with that I was thankfully able to whistle and then get on her to get away. This is way too close of a call. Like, how does this happen to me? How am I so unlucky that I'm like, yes, let's go do this thing, and I'm like, no wait, never mind, I just messed up incredibly bad and almost cost myself a lot of work by getting my loot stuck in a really deep ocean. But thankfully I got to the actual cave, and to be a bit smart, I placed down a sleeping bag just in case if I die down there I can respawn super close and not have to go all the way from the base back here to try to get Aggie from this area. Instantly when I was in there, I found a weird lizard crocodile looking thing which instantly poisoned me and almost killed me, so that was very close and annoying. Thankfully I was able to take it out, and this is where I realized that this cave is not what I thought it was going to be. Not only is it super hot, so you have to be super careful with, you know, overheating, so you have to use cloth armor, and with that it means that you are very easy to die, so you're very prone to being killed. The other issue that comes with this is that there is a lot of bats in here, but on top of the bats there's a lot of scorpions in here, and then on top of all those scorpions there's a lot of spiders here. And this weird part of the cave is where stuff gets really difficult because for some odd reason there is just these waves of enemies that are just laid out in this. If you just kind of think about it, it's like this one piece of it is just spiders, the other piece of it is normal dinosaurs, this other piece of it is scorpions, and the last piece is just bats or whatever. And through that I had to go slowly, trying to take out each one of those enemies, which was a bit terrifying. On top of this, because it's Ark Survival Evolved and it's super buggy, a lot of the bats and spiders were stuck in the wall, which thankfully I didn't have to worry about, but it was still terrifying until I got to the end of this room, place, whatever you would call it. I found this, just a bunch of bats together, which was not something I wanted to mess with. They are super fast, my shotgun cannot keep up. Whenever I shoot the shotgun, it feels like the game gets super framey, because of course it does, it's the Switch, and I was like, you know what, I don't think I'm ready for this. So I decided to leave, and I think I'll return here when I'm slightly better prepared, because screw that. This place is not it. The only good thing that came out of it is that I was able to collect a frick load of chitin from all the enemies that I killed, because the scorpions and the spiders themselves drop it for you. So at least now I have an over the top amount of chitin, which will help me out with making some really useful items back at the base to hopefully prepare better so that I can come back to this cave and get that freaking artifact before like day 40, right? Ark Survival Evolved and Dinosaurs Fun Facts!
This last fun fact is in relation to something that I've been thinking about a lot since 2020, and that is Ark 2. Where is it? It's been 5 years, and supposedly it was supposed to come out in 2023 originally, then it was supposed to come out in 2024, and then it got pushed around in 2024, and now we're in 2025. Now, the way I speculate it's working is essentially Ark Survival Ascended is what Ark 2 was supposed to be in a way. With the graphics on Ark Survival Ascended, and from what we saw in that little trailer with Mr. Vin Diesel family, all that stuff, it looks way too good to be like not Ark 2. Basically, I need Ark 2. I need those dinosaur armor saddles. I need Vin Diesel. Where are you? And it's such an easier name to remember. Ark 2. Yeah. Sad.
Anyway, it's day 37, and I decided to start the day off by gathering resources and making some food. The reason I wanted to make food, and I'm not talking about actual like meat that I can just heat up, I'm talking about soups and other stuff, is because they will actually give me buffs, and something that I should have concentrated on way earlier in this. I'm a bit of a noob, as you can tell already by this video if you've watched it this far, and just overall with my playstyle. I'm not a professional, and I tried to mention that at the beginning of this video because it's, you know, I'm just not that good. So for this, I will need to make one soup that will control my heat, and I did also notice a person that I watched on YouTube for a guide did use it themselves, and for that I will need citronal plants, which is essentially a lemon, and for that I need to have the seed but also make a crop pot, which is actually something that I wish I would have learned earlier, because this became one of my favorite parts of the game. Farming. Basically, I needed to use a medium crop pot and then put the seed inside of it. Then from there I had to make some pipes, which are super easy to make, and thankfully I put the actual medium crop pot by the ocean itself, so I was able to connect the pipes super close to the water and then have the water the crop pots that are on the ground. Then from here I needed to get fertilizer, and how do you get fertilizer? With poop. Turns out I can use a fertilizer which comes with its own flies, like before you even place it down. That was one of the funniest things, you know, when it's like in the green phase, it just has fly sound effects with it. You can actually make fertilizer in it. The only issue that I found with it was that it was actually going to take me a lot of time, because you need to put poop inside of it and also thatch, and then you just have to wait and wait and wait, which it was really taking its darn sweet time. So I found out that instead you can just use a toilet, which unfortunately it does require a lot of cementing paste and a lot of resources, but in the long run I think it will be worth it. So then in day 38 I ended up making the toilet. Big issue with this is that I wasn't able to actually figure out how it works, because when I placed it down it didn't want to flush or anything like that. I could poop into it, which was, you know, cool, but it's supposed to instantly create fertilizer for me. Turns out that just like normal toilets in real life, you actually need a water source connected to it. So it was more pipe work and trying to figure out how I was actually going to do it, which wasn't too difficult, and I got it working. And then I took my first dookie inside of the game, or at least, well, my first dookie on this toilet that actually worked, and there we go, we have fertilizer. It's kind of crazy how surprisingly cool this is. Like, I don't know why, but it was definitely the most fun part of this playthrough, just because it felt so much more chill. I didn't have to worry about fighting stuff, and it was more of like a guessing game. If like, will this work now? If I watch this YouTube video and this person explained it to me like this, why isn't it working and stuff like that? But there we go, I have the plants officially growing, and they're even green. Like, look, they're even growing. I was so happy with this process that I spent some time today just staring at them. Just pure joy. I have water, I have fertilizer, I have them growing, and hopefully soon I'll be able to make the soup itself so that I can go back and kill all those bats and spiders again. again. And now it's day 39, which really hit me of how late into the game it is right now, and my main goal of trying to defeat the boss, or at least fight it. I would like to go in with at least some prep, so for that I'm going to need some big dinosaurs, and since one of the guys that I did watch did recommend a T-Rex army, I should probably want to get that. So I started working on a whole bunch of tranquilizers and getting a bunch of narcotics and making a bunch of shotgun shells and gunpowder and stuff like that. Also, I found out that if you go and hunt for supply drops, you can actually find some pretty useful blueprints inside of it, like better versions of, let's say, a shotgun that I can then craft and make into higher rarities. But the thing is, for some odd reason, every single supply drop that I opened had just absolute dookie in it. They weren't like incredibly high rarity, but I remember at the beginning of this playthrough, which I never mentioned, I did actually find a green chest which had some solid loot. It's just the probability of getting anything that is actually worth your time is super rare, and I'm really upset that I didn't concentrate on these crates way before, and only now in day 39. I did stick around here for a bit too long, and then it ended up being nighttime, and along my way back to the base and trying to like find some chests and trying to find some supply drops since it is nighttime, I did something stupid. I flew really close to the water, and I ended up falling in with Aggie. Well, Aggie was stuck in the sky, and the thing is, this is another bait. Remember the situation that I was just in a while ago when I was flying over to the cave? Yeah, but this time around, it's pure darkness, and I have no idea where the land is, apart from my map. So I tried my best to swim closer to land, but since it's just pitch black darkness in this version again of Ark, and just overall Ark itself, I had no idea where Aggie was, I had no idea where land was, and I ended up getting murdered. The only issue with this is that I don't have the gameplay of this, so that's why you can't see it. The reason for that is because I ended up stopping my recording because I was confident nothing was gonna happen. I was gonna find some land on it, wait until the day starts so I can start recording again to preserve my storage, because recording stuff like this is super difficult to have a lot of storage. It's super expensive, and only downside is that I died and just basically lost all of the gameplay for that. But it ended up happening. I got stuck, I died, and now I'm basically lootless and don't have my things. So now I kind of have to take my raft in day 40 and try to swim all the way back to the location, which thankfully I did take a photo of just so I could save and know where I was, just so I could get my stuff and not actually, you know, lose it all completely and get Aggie back, because I can't lose her. I freaking love that bird inside of this game. It was honestly a really long journey just because the raft is incredibly slow, but I found her, got my loot, and I decided I'm just gonna leave the raft here so that I can just fly my way back to the base instead of going back on the raft and wasting a bunch of time. Even though we are super far away, we're basically by the like T-Rex island or the carnivore island that is like essentially on the top right corner of the map, so it's still gonna take me quite some time to get back. On my way back, it was bad because unfortunately we ended up in the redwood area, which is super close to my base, but unfortunately since I'm on a flying mount, one of the bugs inside of the swamp ended up spotting me and started attacking me and Aggie. I thought I could get away just because, you know, I'm on a flying mount, and usually with ones on the ground I can get away super easily and not have to worry about getting attacked. The only difference is that those stupid bugs are way too fast for me and were able to catch up to us, and unfortunately Aggie's health was so low that I got so scared and panicked that I just instantly closed my game. The issue with this is that I'm back on day 40, beginning of it basically, because I'm back on my raft. Thankfully, it's super close to where I found Aggie and my loot, but now I have to go back and essentially redo everything that I just did, which is collect my stuff and fly back to the base. This time, I took the more cautious way and was very careful so that Aggie wouldn't die, and thankfully, we got back. Honestly, it is day 40 and it's already going so bad, and I have absolutely no confidence as of right now in myself to be able to even go fight the boss fight in any way. But you know what? We're still gonna push through because I'm not gonna give up this easily. The positive thing is that in day 41 or hour 41, I was able to actually fully get the lemon citronal things to grow fully, and then I was able to make the soup, which is the Kalean soup, whatever you want to call it. I consider making a refrigerator so that I could keep it like good for a longer amount of time, but that was just gonna take way too much time, and I just spent the rest of the day making bullets so that I could go back to that freaking cave and get the artifact so I could get to that boss as soon as possible. So in day 42, I felt pretty confident and I ended up flying all the way back to that cave. Thankfully, I had the sleeping bag outside because after consuming the soup, I basically died instantly. So all of the stuff that I did just a while ago, grinding for that soup to get it, I just lost it because I got attacked by bats and I died. I know I should have had some antidotes for poison, but honestly at the time I was super frustrated and didn't think much of it, mainly because it was day 42 and I was starting to really panic with the amount of time that I had, so I wasn't thinking very straight. To make matters worse, I ended up going in deeper, even though I should have probably went back and tried to prepare a bit better. Instead of trying to fight all the bats that were at the end of that terrifying cave room, I just ended up sneaking past them, and then somehow there wasn't anything for quite some time. I was able to make some of the difficult jumps and even use the grappler, which took me a while to figure out how to actually turn it off, because once you use the grappler you just always have it on you, but thankfully by crouching I was able to take it off. I was so close to the artifact because of the guys that I watched. I was so happy and excited to be able to just grab it and then literally sprint out of this entire cave as fast as I can so that I could at least have this really difficult artifact out of the way. But unfortunately the luck was just not on my side because I got instantly attacked by bats and I unfortunately died. So that means that all of the work that I've spent grinding out to get that shotgun again, to get all the shotgun shells, is essentially lost because there's absolutely no way that I could get back this loot. But since I'm a stubborn person, I ended up going all the way back because not only did I want to get Aggie, but also my stuff. The only thing that I did have was a long neck rifle, the one that I used in the past, and I guess Cookie because I could fly all the way over there. I didn't have my raft because I left it all the way back at the other part of the map. Basically, stuff was looking really bad. Also, I decided I finally wanted to make one of those cryopods finally. The main reason for that is because with that I will be able to take Plum and essentially bring them with me so that they could fight inside of the cave for me. The issue with that is I found that you have to take a lot of resources with you and then find one of the supply drops. The issue with that is that Cookie's stamina is really bad at flying, so trying to look around for a supply drop as fast as I could so I could get back to Aggie and my resources as fast as I possibly can was a bit of a problem. Thankfully I did find a supply drop and it was kind of stressful because I tried to jump for it, but because it was super high up and just stuck in the sky, I almost died, and then while flying on Cookie, I somehow coincidentally, while trying to interact with it, fell on top of it, which allowed me to, I guess, craft the cryopod, but now I had to find a way down, which I didn't know how to do, but thankfully by calling Cookie over to me, they flew over and I was able to jump on top of them and then fly back to the base, which allowed me to prepare fully to go inside of the cave itself by grabbing Plum and flying all the way there with Cookie, which of course wasn't super easy because Cookie's stamina is freaking awful. Aggie, I miss you so much right now. Now of course all of this was happening day 43 because it all did take super long to do, but when I got inside of the cave, Plum started taking some pretty bad hits because of course it did. Turns out that this cave is actually the most difficult cave out of the 3 for the artifacts that you can get, which I am slightly disappointed in myself that I decided to go for this as the second one, and instead of trying to see Plum die, I decided to take Plum back into the cryopod and instead just sprint through the entire cave to get to my stuff as fast as I can so that I can pick it up and maybe fight off those bats that are there. The issue with this is the grappling hook is very needed because I ended up jumping into lava, and instead of accepting my death, I closed the application just so that I can reload and have not only at least the new stuff that I made, but hopefully Plum alive. The other issue is that since it was day 43, I reloaded back all the way just before I made the cryopod. So not only is the supply drop just not here, because turns out I guess when you reload your game, the supply drops are just no longer existent, but now I don't have the cryopod. Aggie is still all the way back at the cave and my loot is still unfortunately completely lost. Before I did anything, I just decided to take a complete break because it was just a lot to take in. It was a lot of losses and I was starting to really realize that maybe this boss fight is not going to be happening in today's video. Not only am I just not going to be able to do it fast enough, but I'm just not prepared. Honestly, not being super experienced in this game, it's kind of difficult to make like on 100-day or 50-day stuff inside the game. There's a bunch of content creators that do this, but I'm just not as professional as them. But thankfully, this playthrough is allowing me to learn a lot from my mistakes, and hopefully if I come back in the future, I'll be able to defeat not only the spider boss, but also the other 2 bosses, and then on top of that, the main boss overseer itself. So now I have a brand new goal, and that is to try to experience at least the Nintendo Switch Arc version to its fullest in a way. I want to tame a T-Rex. I want to explore the ocean. I want to have fun and try to treat these days as a bit of a test to see what else can you do on the Switch version of Arc. As of right now into the video, it's actually doing really well. well, and I was able to do stuff that I'm really surprised that you were capable of doing. Honestly, this version of Ark that is on the Switch is not the worst, but I'm really not liking it. Having to play it for so long is a bit of a pain, and I would have absolutely adored playing this on the PC or even on my PlayStation 5 with the Ark Ascended version, but you know what, it's not the worst. I decided to make a brand new raft and just go collect Aggie so that I can just get her back and not have to worry about completely losing her. And from here, unfortunately, the days just became almost nothing because there is no more big goal. So day 44, I made some trank arrows so that I can prepare to take down the T-Rex. I went and made some more of those cryopods, Pokeball looking things, and I don't really know why I made 2, but you know what, I'll take it. Day 45, I found the like Bigfoot dude again, and I tried to knock him out, but I ended up losing him inside of bushes. He was just too fast for me, and I ended up actually finding the second cave, or the third cave, whatever you want to call it, which is where the other artifact is located. I tried to go in to see if maybe I could go explore it and find this artifact, and maybe it will rekindle my excitement for fighting the boss, but it went from like this bright looking nice look to the map to a really cool dark and eerie look, but that instantly terrified me, and I decided to leave with Aggie because screw that for right now. I found this like dethingified looking Bronto, which was pretty cool. I didn't even know that they existed. And then I found a pair of T-Rexes which were trying to attack me, and my cockiness kind of got to me, and I decided, you know what, this is where I'm gonna get the T-Rex. Somehow one of the pale looking ones just kind of separated from the red one, and this allowed me with Aggie to kind of like tease the red one over to a cliff where I started shooting it with arrows. It was a bit of a process because it ended up running away from me when I started getting its turbidity way too high up, but I actually ended up knocking out a T-Rex, which wasn't too difficult. I thought this was going to be a really painful and long process, but it really wasn't. And with that, I was able to spend basically the rest of the day chilling by it, trying to feed it some meat, which wasn't even like prime meat or even any kind of kibble, which I know is going to speed up the process. But thankfully on day 46, I was able to keep it unconscious, and there we go. We have a T-Rex just like that. And I called her Pepper because she's just spicy like that. Thankfully, because I had the Pal Sphere, Pokeball, Cryopod looking thing, I was able to just pick her up and fly all the way back to the base, where I found out she has some insane stats on herself. 2,000 health. Oh my goodness, that is insanely cool. And even at that, making a T-Rex saddle wasn't anything too difficult, and I was able to ride her. The only issue is that her stamina is super low, so she isn't really good. But by killing a dodo with her, I unlocked a flare gun skin. Didn't even know that you could unlock like skin stuff by doing other stuff. Since I've just completely abandoned the idea of going back to the cave to pick up my stuff, I decided I kind of want to maybe get a Spino at some stage as well, but for that I need silica pearls, and right now I kind of want to instead spend them on making the scuba gear so that I can go explore the ocean a tiny bit. I found out that the scuba pants for some odd reason cost like a whole bunch of polymer, so I had to go get obsidian unfortunately, which in day 47 it took me just like forever. I basically wasted most of the day by flying there, getting the obsidian, and then flying back, which was really annoying because I went to one of the furthest mountains away instead of just going to the volcano. But there we go, finally I have the scuba armor, gear, suit, whatever you want to call it. It's actually kind of funky whenever you put it on because you get like the mask effect on your main first person view. And then when I jumped into the ocean that's just outside of my base, I ended up swimming around, finding out that there was a megalodon hunting me down. So I tried to tranquilize it, and guess what? There was jellyfish, and jellyfish that electrocute you that stuck up on me, 3 of them at that, and murdered me. So now I have my own loot, a lot of loot, and the scuba gear that I worked on for quite some time to get, stuck on the ocean that is quite deep down and now is being protected by jellyfish. Well, that's great. So because I was stubborn, I ended up hopping in and I died, and then I ended up hopping in again and I died, and then I ended up hopping in again and I died. And then thankfully during all those hopping ins, I was able to take out the jellyfish, and then in day 48 I was able to get my stuff and swim back up and not have to worry about dying again. Wow, that was a lot of stuff. But it's officially day 49, the second last day, and right now I've kind of basically hit my goals, so that was interesting. But there's one more thing that I would like to do, and that is to go and grab Stevetta and Stevetta 2. All that time ago that I was basically saying that I'm gonna get them again, yeah, I did. I don't forget. It definitely isn't day 49, and I was struggling to figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do, because if I start doing something really important, I'm not just gonna end off the video on a cliffhanger, even though that would have probably been interesting, but still, that feels kind of pointless. So I got them back, and now Steve has his 2 ladies back. The family's finally together. And since there is basically a lot of time still left over, I thought since I got the Rizzler, I might as well go get another dinosaur that kind of pissed me off at least a tiny bit in the days that I died to it. And that is the Spino that is all the way back where Steveta and Steveta 2 were. My strategy was very similar to the way that I got the T-Rex. I basically flew with Aggie, tried to piss it off, went on top of a cliff, shot it. But the only difference is that for some odd reason, the freaking Spinos are actually extremely smart, and every single time its torpidity got super low, it zoomed away from me. Like, they're so fast, and it was zoomed away so far into the water that I wasn't able to get it. It was a really long process of going back and forth and trying to shoot it at the same location because, again, it waited until its torpidity was really low so that it could come and attack me. Thankfully, it did get distracted at one point with like a turtle that it started attacking, and I was able to knock it out. The only issue is that the turtle then started attacking it, and if I didn't hear that it was getting attacked, it probably would have killed it, which would have been very disappointing, but I got the turtle instead and even fed the meat of the turtle to the Spino. It did take some time, but I finally got it, and I called her Phoebe. Again, definitely not because I was watching Friends while I was playing this day. The unfortunate thing is that she's level 1, so that's not really great. But you know what? Get in the ball, woman. Let's go back home. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it's day 50. It's been a long 50-hour grind, or I guess 49 hours and a few minutes right now. It's been an up and down journey, which turned out to be a bit uneventful. And I hope if you have watched this far into the video, you did enjoy it. I went around and kind of like looked at the dinosaurs that I collected. First of all, looking at Aggie, definitely my favorite dinosaur in the game. Even though she was a low level, we built her up and now she's just incredible. Pepper and Phoebe, you know, you do like to take dookies while I'm talking to you right now, but I'm gonna let that slide because, you know, you're kind of cool. You're definitely one of the more difficult dinosaurs, even though you're pretty low levels. Rizzler, you're a prick, you know, that's all. Ross, I genuinely forgot I got you. Betsy 3, also kind of forgot about you. Karna, again, forgot about you. Iguanodon, don't even get me started. Plum, you're vicious. Literally, like you just killed a bird, but you're pretty cool. And Cookie, you know, you're not Oreo or Jammy, but you are definitely pretty cool to get me to some locations. And apart from that, the Dodo army, there was definitely more of you. Unfortunately, the Rizzler took out some of you, and I know the ones that are here were definitely not part of that army, but you were the first dinos that I tamed inside of the game, and I definitely have some appreciation for you. As for the rest of the day, I basically did the normal stuff of just smelting things, collecting resources, and didn't do anything crazy, not to waste the day and make it again super like, oh my god, and then this happened and I can't keep going. The challenge was spend 50 hours in Ark Survival Evolved on a Nintendo Switch, and I did it. 50 hours, oh my god. So yeah, I did not fight the boss, and the main reason for that is, again, it's like a 300 plus hour grind, and I kind of set myself up for disappointment by just setting it up for 50 hours. But 50 hours is a lot of time playing a game, if you didn't know, and the fact that one day is 1 hour was the main reason. I don't know if you saw at the beginning of this video, but I mentioned that I tried to do this video like a whole year ago, exactly back in January 2024, but because the days were so long and I had so little time, I was like, I can't do this right now. The overall plan was to do 100 days, but this is where I guess kind of the outro of the video is to hopefully make a future video more possible, and that is, if this video gets 1,000 likes, I will go back and beat the island on the Nintendo Switch from the save that I have right now. So how many hours it takes me, it'll just be a video. And then also, if that video performs well, or if there's any reception from the Ark community, which I do love Ark, I do have some history in the game, I did play it a lot back in 2020 during the COVID time, I will go and defeat all of the bosses on every other map. Basically try to 100% the entire game from all the DLCs. So if you do enjoy this video, 1,000 likes, subscribe. Thank you so much for 4,000 subscribers. And the main reason there is no cameo of Ella in this video is because she is absolutely petrified of this guy right here. He's getting deflated. Somebody on my community post said that his name should be Steve, and you know what? It is Steve. Even though there was dodos called Steve. But this works. Good Steve.